Hey everyone, welcome to my beginner handstand tutorial video. Now before we jump into handstands, I just want you to make sure that you have a strong headstand and forearm stand practice first. Doing so is going to best prepare you to learn handstands, especially if you've never done one before. So if you feel like you are ready to take on the challenge of learning how to do a handstand, everything that I am about to say is for you. The first step to learning how to do a successful handstand is having proper hand placement. So please pay attention to these little details. When you place your hands down on the ground, make sure that they are directly below your shoulders. That is going to make your body have proper alignment when you're upside down. If your arms are spread out wide, it's going to compromise your foundation and make holding a handstand very, very challenging. So make sure that those hands are directly below your shoulders. The next step with your hand placement is making sure that your hands are rotated to the correct position. So when you place your hands down on the ground, look at your index fingers. You want to make sure that they are pointed directly in front of you. Most people's natural tendency when they place their hands down on the ground is to place them sort of like this, and that actually leaves your pointer fingers pointing inwards. And the reason why we don't want that is by having our hands like this, it makes it really easy to put a bend in your elbow. And we don't want any bend in our arms when we're doing a handstand. You want to have locked out arms. So to set yourself up for the best chance of success at having locked out arms, you want to make sure that your fingers are pointing forwards and that your hands are not rotated inwards, because that is going to rotate your elbows to the back, which makes it really hard to put any kind of bend in your arms when you're in a handstand. Activating your grip, having an active grip. So what that looks like is your fingertips gripping into the ground, and what it feels like is your full fingertip pad, so not just the tips but the full pads being pressed into the ground, and then you have a break in contact where your fingers bend up and then your hands touch again on the palms of your hands. Now you can see here that my hands are gripping. That is an active gripping handstand base. You do not want flat, lazy hands. Flat, lazy hands are going to put all of your weight down into your wrists alone, and they basically eliminate all of the benefits that you normally have when you have gripping fingertips. And that means that your hands have now turned into something that can absorb the little movements that are happening above you. If you feel like you're about to fall, you can press into your fingertips and catch yourself. Having this active grip, you will learn as you go on into your handstand practice, is absolutely essential for handstand success and for holding these crazy holds that you're probably dreaming of. What you want to start to do now is walk your hips up and start to actually get your weight onto your foundation. At this point, as you're walking your hips up, I want you to focus on breathing, and with every breath, powering up through your shoulders. You want to be pushing your shoulders as far away as you possibly can from the ground. That's how it should feel. If you're finding that extremely challenging, just focus on that for the first few days of practicing. Don't even worry about kicking up yet. Just focus on walking your hips up as much as you can, breathing consistently, and driving up through those shoulders and down through your fingertips. The next step really is taking that leap of faith and starting to experiment with, really getting your weight onto your hands and in your handstand. So if at this point you're feeling really scared about falling over, I would suggest going up to a wall. What you'll do is you'll place your hands down at the base of that wall, right at the base, so that your fingertips are only an inch away. And then you're going to do everything that we were doing before. You make sure that your hands are aligned properly. You're going to walk your hips up, breathing, driving through your shoulders, gripping your fingertips into the ground. And then you're going to pick up whatever leg you're most comfortable picking up, and you're going to then give yourself a little hop up onto the wall. Now, the first few times you try this, I just want you to gauge out how much momentum it's gonna take you to get up onto that wall. You might bang into the wall the first few times and come back down, and that's totally okay. That's why the wall is there. It's there to eliminate that fear of falling and to catch you when you do feel like you're gonna go over. What you need to be focusing on is literally squeezing and tightening everything that you can wrap your head around, squeezing and tightening. So you understand your proper hand grip and you've been focusing on driving up through your shoulders, and that is great. But now you have to start practicing turning your attention to things like squeezing your glutes and sucking in your stomach and your rib cage so that you have a nice flat back, pointing your toes, engaging your thighs. All of these things you need to do when you're away from the wall to hold a straight line handstand or any handstand. So when you're up against the wall, that's when you want to start practicing all of this muscle engagement and proper alignment. The reason why our hands are right at the base of the wall is because that forces you to be in a straight line when you kick up against the wall. And if you go to kick up against the wall and you literally cannot hold yourself in a straight line against it, what that means is that your shoulders just might not be flexible enough yet to hold a straight line handstand. And that's okay, flexibility can be improved. That's a whole nother video in itself, but that is what that means. So the wall is where we learn how to first get all of our weight onto our hands. It's where you can focus on your form without having the fear of falling. And you can really hit a lot of amazing milestones while using the wall. But when you get away from the wall, you're going to have to face the fear of falling. So when you do that, make sure that you are in a big open space, that you don't have anything to worry about falling into. Put down mats around you or anything that's gonna make you feel more comfortable about falling. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your hands down on the ground, directly below your shoulders. You're going to grip your fingertips into the ground. You're gonna walk your hips up, focusing on breathing, focusing on driving up through your shoulders, and then you'll lift up whichever leg you're most comfortable with, and you're going to hop up into the air just like you would as if the wall was there. Now, at this point, you're either going to hop up and you're not gonna have enough momentum and you'll just come back down, or you're going to hop up and you're going to have way too much momentum and you're going to go over. Now, in the event of going over, you have a couple options. You can either try to lift up one arm and you can cartwheel out, or, and this is what I do, I put a 90-degree bend in my leg that is already behind me, and I catch myself with my foot. Now, when I first started practicing handstands, I wasn't flexible enough to stand up out of this, so when I would catch myself, I would then just lower myself down onto the ground, take a few breaths, and then try practicing again. Now when I go over, I'm able to go over and stand up out of it, which is fantastic, but that took, many months of falling to get good at. Learning how to fall is a big part of learning how to do handstands. Conquering that fear is pretty much the biggest thing that's in between you being able to do handstands and not being able to do handstands. So definitely embrace that side of it and don't just keep putting it off. Once you are out in your big open space, you've learned how to fall, and now you're trying to catch air. You're going to place your hands down on the ground directly below your shoulders. You're going to actively grip all of your fingers and your whole hands into the ground. You're gonna walk your hips up, pushing up through your shoulders. You're gonna lift up one foot, and when you're ready, you'll give yourself a little baby hop, and you're going to try to catch some balance in this lower center of gravity staggered legs pose. Now, try to stay focused on these lower center of gravity poses when you're first learning handstands. Going for the handstand line on your first go, it's just not gonna happen. Handstand line is the highest center of gravity inversion you could possibly do. So just focus on staggered legs or splits to start. And then when you start to feel yourself, consistently holding 5 to 10 seconds, keep on focusing on that form, and you can start to try to bring your legs up together into a line. I'm going to suggest to just focus on lower center of gravity handstands. by placing your hands down on the ground and gripping your hands in, and then actively pushing up through your shoulders and walking your feet up, you are already engaging a large amount of your core. You are already supporting so much of your weight, so that when you do hop up, you're only catching, you know, the remainder 60% of your weight, rather than having a lazy foundation and just throwing your whole body weight onto it. So really just take time to absorb these details. If things aren't feeling right for you in this practice, just stop for a second and think about the foundation. Pay attention to where you're placing your hands. Pay attention to how you're gripping your fingers into the ground. Make sure that you're driving up through your shoulders. Pay attention to your breath. Are you breathing, or are you holding your breath? Make sure that you are looking right in between your hands and that you are not straining your neck in any way. All of these things are going to make learning how to do a handstand, but past that, getting really good at handstands, much, much, much more achievable. I don't know if I can think of anything else. So I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope that it has gotten you that much closer to learning your first handstand. If you ever have any questions for me, please do not hesitate to ask them. You can comment them below, or you can get in contact with me on my Instagram, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye guys.